Harvey Klehr is a professor of politics and history at Emory University. Klehr is known for his books on the subject of the American Communist movement, and on Soviet espionage in America. Biography. Early years. Harvey Klehr was born in Newark, New Jersey. He received his undergraduate degree from Franklin and Marshall College in 1967. He received his doctorate from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill in 1971. After defending a dissertation entitled The Theory of American Exceptionalism, Klehr later recalled that his interest in the American radical left had been shaped by the domestic political upheaval of the Vietnam War era, during which he had attended college. In 2010, Klehr wrote, "I originally intended to study traditional American politics, but became distracted by the upheavals of the era. I considered myself on the political left, but outwardly a revolutionary. Some of my friends and classmates, however, were associated with the Southern Student Organizing Committee, a spin-off of Students for a Democratic Society. Two political events from those tumultuous years gave me my lifetime research agenda. During the 1968 presidential election, a number of radicals, including some I knew, supported George Wallace for president. They certainly had no sympathy for the Alabama governor, but argued that his election would precipitate an American revolution. Their rationale was that a dose of fascism would prepare the way for American radicalism. After the American incursion into Cambodia in 1970, student protesters held a mass meeting on the Chapel Hill campus. A number of speakers called for a student strike to shut down the university. My advisor, Dr. Louis Lipsitz, had been one of the most prominent leftists on campus for many years. When Lou urged the crowd not to strike since a university should not be closed down, he was booed. Convinced that the student left was losing its grip on reality and was likely to fail, I became increasingly intrigued by the question of why the American left always seemed to fail. What was it about America or the left that accounted for American exceptionalism, the inability of socialists or communists to make inroads comparable to those it enjoyed elsewhere? Academic career. Following graduation, Klehr was hired to teach political theory at Emory University in Atlanta. After generating several journal articles from his dissertation, Klehr moved to the study of the demographic composition of the party leadership of the Communist Party, USA, agglomerating biographical information from archival study and person-to-person interviews. Klehr examined the social composition of the party's leadership caste for the first time. The result of this research was a first book, Communist Cadre: The Social Background of the American Communist Party Elite, published in 1978 by the Hoover Institution Press. Klehr's book drew the attention of Theodore Draper, a pioneering historian of American communism who had published seminal books on the topic in 1957 and 1960, taking the story of the American communist movement from its origins to the year 1929, but who had found himself unable to continue the saga into later years despite having accumulated a substantial research library on the topic. Draper pushed Klehr to continue his history to include its glory days in the years of the Great Depression. Klehr made possible the acquisition of Draper's archive by Emory University Library and began intensive study of the topic. The result was the publication of a second book in 1984, The Heyday of American Communism, The Depression Decade. In the nearly quarter-century between the publication of Theodore Draper's second book on American communism and Klehr's 1984 effort at continuation, a new school of social historians had come to the fore in the field of American history. An unorganized group sharing a disaffection with the traditionalist orientation towards leaders and the machinations of high politics. These self-described revisionists made Klehr's 1984 work a focus of heated intellectual critique, asserting that it was an example of polemic Cold War anti-communism. This highly politicized argument was returned in kind by the so-called traditionalists, who frequently saw in their revisionists' predilection for local history and the party rank and file a thinly disguised apologetic for the abuses of communism, glorifying the CPUSA, hiding its warts, and apologizing for its crimes. For more than 2 decades this debate raged among historians of American radicalism, with Klehr emerging as one of the leading defenders of the traditionalist approach and its associated critique. These historical approaches were largely connected to the contemporary views of their adherents, Klehr later noted. The disagreements between the two camps were only partly generational, because some traditionalists, like myself and my longtime co-author John Haynes, were roughly the same age as our revisionist counterparts. To some degree, the combatants were divided by current political loyalties, with most revisionists locating themselves at least on the left wing of the Democratic Party, if not as members of various socialist groupings. But traditionalists themselves ranged from such self-identified socialists as Irving Howe to conservative Republicans. Awards. Klehr has received a number of awards, including Emory's Thomas Jefferson Award. He was a member of the National Council on the Humanities, served a term that expired in 2010. Works. Communist cadre. The social background of the American Communist Party elite. Stanford, CA. Hoover Institution Press, 1978. OCLC 4,683,880. The Heyday of American Communism. The Depression Decade. New York. Basic Books, 1984. OCLC 10,456,780. Biographical Dictionary of the American Left. Editor, with Bernard K. John Powell. Westport, C.T. Greenwood Press, 1986. Far Left of Center. The American Radical Left Today. New Brunswick, N.J. Transaction Publishers, 1988. OCLC 17,210,024. The American Communist Movement. Storming Heaven Itself. With John Earl Haynes. New York. Twain Publishers, 1992. OCLC 25,201,075. The Secret World of American Communism. With John Earl Haynes and Friedrich Igorovich Fursiv. New Haven, Connecticut. Yale University Press, 1996. OCLC 30,779,937. The Amerasia Spy Case. Prelude to McCarthyism. With Ronald Radosh. Chapel Hill, NC. University of North Carolina Press, 1996. OCLC 32,590,046. The Soviet World of American Communism. With John Earl Haynes and Kirill Anderson. New Haven, Connecticut. Yale University Press, 1998. OCLC 37,187,391. Then Honor. Decoding Soviet Espionage in America. With John Earl Haynes. New Haven, Connecticut. Yale University Press, 1999. OCLC 44,694,569. In Denial. Historians, Communism and Espionage. With John Earl Haynes. San Francisco, California. Encounter Books, 2003. OCLC 62,271,849. Communism, Espionage, and the Cold War. A Unit of Study for Grades 9 to 12. With Robert Gabrick. Los Angeles, California. National Center for History in the Schools, University of California, Los Angeles, 2004. Early Cold War Spies. The Espionage Trials That Shaped American Politics. With John Earl Haynes. New York. Cambridge University Press, 2006. Spies. The Rise and Fall of the KGB in America. With John Earl Haynes and Alexander Vasilev. New Haven, Connecticut. Yale University Press, 2009. The Communist Experience in America, A Political and Social History. New Brunswick, N.J. Transaction Publishers, 2010. Selected articles.